SolidWorks rib command is a simple shortcut that can be used in order to create ribbed features within our SolidWorks parts. Ribs are simply support pieces, fairly thin, that are added to either cast or injection molded parts in order to add stiffness and rigidity without using a ton of extra material. A rib command can be found up here within SolidWorks. And what it does is it allows us to take a single straight line, so I've only drawn one line right here, and create a volume out of that single straight line, as we're seeing here. Within the rib command, we do have the option to choose how we have our line situated, whether it is centered, offset to one side or the other, and create the volume from that. With this, we also have the option to add a draft to this. What we're going to see here is this is basically creating so that we have a non-horizontal part. So these pieces here that we are seeing are actually areas where the overall rib is bowing out a little bit and creating so we don't just have a single extrude. With this, we're not always going to be using just this rib command. A lot of the time you can really just easily make this with simple other commands from our extrude. However, if we look here, we can't just take our normal sketch that we can use for the rib command and extrude it, because when we extrude, we need to extrude perpendicular to the plane that we are working with. So there isn't a change in direction there that is going to work with some of our drawings. Instead, we're going to have to create another plane, which you can see is created here, create a different sketch that is on this plane, but then all we have to do is take that line and we can use our extrude features in order to make it. So it's saving about this much time, which is really not a ton. So what I'm doing is I'm doing my thin feature extrude on this line up to next, so it's going to be where it collides with the wall, and you will see that this is exactly the same rib created, other than I appear to not have put in the right thickness for this, switching it to midplane, but either way, this is exactly the same rib that we are otherwise creating. Alternatively, we can create it without the thin feature extrude by just drawing a triangle, which is this next option that I'm going to show here. So I take the perpendicular plane and I draw this triangle that we can see right here. And I can take that triangular sketch and extrude it with a normal volume extrude. I can choose midplane so that it's centered, and I have that same rib. So 3 different ways. As you can see, we're not saving a ton of time here, but we're saving some, and if it is a common enough piece that you are doing, maybe it's worth it. With this, what I will say about ribbing is we don't have to always use just this very basic rib shape where it's a straight line. We can use this with a ton of different shapes. So here I have a rib that is got a couple straight lines on either end before it goes through the diagonal, and I can use the rib command and that will work without a flaw. And in a second here, I will show my other sketch, which was hidden, which is a curved line, and I can take that and I can create a rib out of it as well. So a lot of things that we could probably have done just as easily with extrudes, but there is a little bit of a SolidWorks shortcut for. With this, looking at using this for a lot of ribs all at once, so I'm just going to create the ribs here. You can see that little arrow was pointing, this guy right here was pointing up, so it was trying to create the ribs in the wrong direction. But once I flip it, I can just basically create all of these ribs all in one go for myself. Now again, just showing that this is basically just extruding all of this down nice and easily for me. And what I'll do here is if I suppress this and I go back to my sketch, I can actually show that this one is even easier. I could have just as easily grabbed all these sketches, done a thin featured extrude up to next. So just changing the orientation of the extrude versus the lines up to the surface, or in this case I actually need to do up to volume so that I don't have the corners popping out. So up to body, sorry, not volume. And I have more or less just created exactly the same thing that I did with my ripping. But new shortcut, fun to see some new things every so often. So that is the rib command for you. Take care.